Hey everyone, I'm going to make you guys a quick-ish video here showing how to take your sketch from the last jacket, that sort of removable shell pullover, and then getting it onto a flat pattern that we'll be printing out, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how to kind of do that. I know there may have been some questions or maybe you're wanting to redo it or whatever. So uh, this video is kind of a good resource for you. I'm not going to edit it at all. It'll be kind of uncut. So if you want to skip to the end, you can just kind of see what it is that we're going for, and then you can come back here to the front and just sort of have a walkthrough. So um, we're going to be using Illustrator and Photoshop, both of them at the same time. So make sure you have both of them open. But we'll start out here in Illustrator. And basically all you need to do is start out by opening up the file that I sent to you guys. What this file represents is slightly different than what it is that you're drawing on. It's sort of a mixture of both, right? But really what this line right around here sort of represents is going to be, and then this line right here, that really represents kind of the pullover that is really custom fit to that last. This is not removable. This one will be sewn on. As you can see, there's kind of a sewing allowance and everything else. This stitch line, um, this stitch line right here represents basically that back seam there. This is the edge of that fabric, you know, if I were to color it, um, maybe even that same color, you know, you guys could see kind of this is the actual piece of material, and you know, then you can and you can kind of see the other you know, the other like lines on here. Maybe I can just explain them real quick to you. This right here is kind of the approximate lateral collar height, sort of with this shape. What this shape here represents, and this one as well, is kind of more or less what maybe a Vans collar might look like, right? Um, and then this, send that to the back. Okay. This right here, this line is basically kind of where the top of your foxing is going to be, coming up onto the side. This one right here is sort of that internal piece, as you guys sketched what we would kind of fit up on the last. And then all of these here are going to be basically folded over, tacked onto the bottom or glued onto the bottom of the last, just so that we don't need a strobel layer. So it's kind of an overlast construction. All right. Anyways, so what we're going to do, that's sort of what this is explained, okay? We're going to just, as I said, we opened it in Illustrator. It's a PDF. We're going to grab the whole thing. I'm going to copy it, okay? Now we'll go over to Photoshop, and I'm just going to close that just so you guys can see right away. Don't save. I'm going to say File, New, and let's do 14 by 14. We'll do 300. Okay, DPI. Oh, not pixels, inches, sorry. That'd be tiny. 14 by 14. And create. Okay. Now I'm going to, because I copied it from here, remember, copy, and Control V or Command V, just paste it as pixels. It's okay. Hit enter, done. And what we'll do now is I'm gonna use Tyler's as an example. Okay, so what I did is I actually have a picture of Tyler's here. Now he did the left shoe, and that's important to remember. But I'm going to copy this, and now I'm gonna paste. Oops, sorry, not in Illustrator. Stay in Photoshop. Paste this here. Okay, so I'm gonna just go over here to Illustrator real quick. Delete that. Don't need it there. Okay, So the first thing that we need to do is we have this here, and it's placed, I think, you know, we can move it up if you need. It's pretty easy. But what we need to look at here is you need to make sure that when that thing is on the last, before you pull it off, just to kind of mark, in this case, see these little extra kind of marks here all along on the tabs. I basically marked kind of where the feather edge was, right? That hard edge on the last. And what this here represents on the really custom tailored fit is actually this line right around here. Okay, so essentially all we need to do is kind of warp this around so that, and then also I made this mark right here on the back, as you can see that, and that represents basically this line right here. Now remember guys, this isn't rocket science, okay? If we're a little bit off, then you just, you know, you'll just be a little bit off on the printout, but there are worse things in life, okay? So what we'll do is the first thing, like I said, we're going to be printing onto the right shoe. We're just going to make one shoe right now. If you guys want to make another one later, it's really easy. You basically just copy all of your files, mirror them, and print them out. It really probably wouldn't take a whole lot of time, but we're only going to make a right shoe right now. So since he did his on the left, Command or Control T, and I'm just going to say flip horizontal. Okay, so now we have our right shoe. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn down the opacity just a little bit so that I can kind of see both. Okay, and I don't care how you do it. You could put this underneath or whatever too. Doesn't matter. But we're going to now hit Command or Control T, and you don't have to completely keep it constrained. I kind of do, at least in the beginning. I'll hold down Shift. For some reason my Shift isn't even working, which is concerning. But my keyboard, I have no idea why. But anyways, so as you look, the first thing let's line up is let's kind of even just get sort of the general sizing, just sort of there. Okay, now remember, as you look, what I'm wanting to do is these little nicks right here, all along. Now, don't look at at that part yet. I'm wanting to see these nicks, basically where these came down on the feather edge, okay, of the last, and I kind of marked them. So I'm going to want to line those up with this edge right here. Okay, with this edge that goes right along there. So that's what we're going to do right now. Command T or Control T, and I'm going to just kind of start getting them close. And like I said, this is not, you know, you don't have to be super exact, okay? Just get it close, okay? So I'm kind of looking at that back edge, and I don't know if you can really see it. We'll zoom in a little here, but you can see that if we look right there, see there was that line there, lining up there, and then I'm slowly starting to line up these nicks. Now, I know it may seem overwhelming. You don't have to go inch by inch, okay? Most of it will really just sort of take care of itself. So we're gonna kind of and keep it pretty straight too, you know. Go. That, and now on some of these I'm actually holding down I have no idea because this keyboard is super messed up, but if you hold down like Alt and then Shift, and depending on what it is, you can actually grab individual corners and kind of stretch them around in there accordingly. So there's that. Okay, and then up here I'm going to hold down, I want to say it's probably Option, but it would be. So I'm using kind of a hacked keyboard, and don't really pay so much attention to this. It does help if you do. I mean, you can kind of line it up to there as well. Okay, and we're a little short here, just in the front. Hold down Option again. I need to bring those nicks down on the front edge, and then about there. Pretty good. Pretty good. Nice. Okay. Now in here, obviously, as you can see, we want to try to get some of this stuff here also lined up in here as well. And there's one other thing that we'll do with that. I'm going to hit, actually, without even hitting enter, you can just right click and now you can say warp. And they get these little handles here. And if you need to like kind of bring some stuff in just a little more, you can, right? I'm just sort of doing a little bit of fine tuning onto these. And then it's sort of, if you want to bring these around a little too, you kind of can, because that opening is gonna, is gonna be representative of it as well. So the idea is just getting this thing nice and close. It's pretty good. Not bad. Okay, so most of our edges line up. And like I said, this really doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process, okay? I would not spend more than just a few minutes doing something like this, right? So we basically, have, well, can do just a bit more on there. That's good. Okay, so basically this thing lines up here. We got it where we need. And as you can kind of see, he sort of has some collar heights right there, and it matches up about with the collar heights that we were talking about too, which are good. The opening matches, and then on this front edge here, basically the nicks on those little vinyl tabs or whatever are lining up. So I'm just going to hit enter now. Done. And what we can do now is we'll just take this photo. You can copy it here. I use my marquee tool or Command D or Control D. You can also hold down Control and just, or Command, and just click on this little box here at the same time. When I hold down Control, it'll do that. And if you just click that, it also grabs everything on the layer. So Command or Control C. Let's go over to Illustrator now. I'm going to paste this, okay? And I'll send this just to the back. And we'll turn down the opacity to 50. But the nice thing now is it's all basically in proportion now, okay, for us to start resketching out our actual line work that we want to use, okay? So really what we did is we just kind of mapped it for visual reference. And I'm just going to Control 2 real quick and I'll lock it. Or you can lock it on a layer. In fact, we'll just do that. That'll be a little easier. Okay. So on the layers here, let's make a new layer. I'll stick it below. Okay. And as I click on this, now if you look, everything here is blue, and then there's a blue line there. That means that it's blue on the layer. You guys might know that already. But I'm going to click on this now real quick. While it's selected, I'll click on the other layer. I'll say arrange and send to current layer. And now you look, everything turned red, so you know it's on this little, it's on layer 2 here. Anyways, I'm just going to lock that. We can unlock it later if we need. But now all we need to do is, we can delete this stuff if you want. I think you know what it means. And once again, even these lines here, we don't really need them anymore, because your stuff is pretty much lined up accordingly. Okay. So what we'll do now is I'm going to kind of draw just some of these lines here, okay, on sort of what Tyler had. Tyler, apologies if this is not exactly kind of what your vision was for this thing, but you guys will just kind of get the idea. All right. So here, now you can also like mirror some things directly up. I think Adam might have asked that a little bit earlier. If you want to do that, what you need to do is well, I guess first what I would want to do is realign this just a little bit more. If this is something that you guys are wanting to do, usually you don't need to, but if it is something that you want to do, here's a way you could do it. I just basically grab down from my rulers on the top, Control or Command R. If you do that, you can drag down, like, you just click on it and drag off of it, and you can drag things down. So I'm gonna grab both of these things real quick, and and before I do that, I want to kind of just make sure that I have like a center point somewhere here. Okay. So what I'll do now is just grab this, and I'm gonna hit R. Like I said, this is not a necessary step. This is really just to show, like, you know, if, yeah, probably about right there. That's fine. And this is really just if you were kind of wanting to mirror some stuff up. But you also have to remember that this is not completely symmetrical. It's probably real close, but it's not. It's not completely symmetrical. Okay. This one's custom tailored to the right foot. But if you were going to do that, maybe you did have some elements that were like that. So I drew this heel here. I'm going to do Command or Control C, and I'll hit O. And as I just click on that line now, I can actually grab this thing here. And if I hold down Shift and I drag all the way up, it will throw it up there. You know what I mean? But as you can see, like what he sketched from here to there, it's very different. And so a lot of times mirroring, it doesn't work with a lot of things. It works with some things like eye stays sometimes, but I wouldn't get too much into the habit of it. So if you guys have something like that, you can do it, but I don't think you need to. So I'm just gonna actually undo that. Just keep it natural. Okay. But there are actually some things that are important with that. For example, you do want to make sure that this here is coming in at the same place as there. So sometimes it is actually a good thing. So we'll just copy it, and we'll paste it onto the top, Command or Control F, hit O right there, and I'll just throw it up there. So now what I can do is I can actually change this front if I want. But like I said, you guys, you can actually do this stuff really, really fast. This is not rocket science, okay? So basically now I can see he has a couple different lines. Use my pen tool once again, and once again, Tyler, apologies if this is not quite, you know, what you were envisioning or something like that. Command C, Command F, O, click on that line, Shift, and drag up. So at least that's symmetrical. That's cool. And then right here, what we can do is, in this case, we don't have to follow this line, okay? Because we'll probably be deleting that line too, right? I'll want to probably, you know, we'll keep it because it's actually real similar to sort of maybe initially what he drew, just for now. And you can keep all of your stuff a little bit overlapping here, okay? Mind you, this is also the first time I've messed with Tyler's file here, so it's a little new for me. And then let's see. So this line here, I think let's get the other shapes first, and then we'll see if we have to keep that thing or not. Okay. So here's this. And then let's go right here, here. And some elements that you guys have will probably be more like 3D. In the case of like Tyler's, he's got some webbing there. He says he's gonna kind of make that in more of a 3D element. And so in that case, that's cool. you don't need to print this thing out. This is mainly kind of some other parts of the flat pattern. And with my white arrow, I'm clicking on this, and if it's a clean, sharp corner, it'll give you these little round things you can kind of manipulate. So that's sort of that shape. And then we have this shape here. And like I said before too, you guys really are the guinea pigs for the future classes that are gonna come and do this. So, you know, whether that's good or not, you know, we're forging new territory here. So I'm gonna copy this real quick. I want to see kind of what this looks like in relation. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna Command F O once again. I'll click on this, drag it up, and it's different. And that's okay. But what we can do is and remember, really follow the drawing, because the drawing is what's telling you more in relation to, you know, what was actually sketched out and what visually looked good in 3D. So don't trust that it'll look good just because maybe it's more aligned in 2D, right? Now here's something I want to do. Well, actually, yeah. I was gonna say I could start doing some shape building now and offsetting, but I think I'll maybe hold off on that. And this is another important part here. You can see how this is where kind of the medial side and your big toe would sit right in here. And so you can see that this part here, it actually is sharper on this side, and it's a little bit more long right there. And so that's another reason why sometimes mirroring isn't like a silver bullet, you know what I mean? And kind of just clean some of this up here. Like I said, I'm going pretty quick here, just so I don't bore you guys. And the nice thing is you guys can skip ahead, jump around if you need to. Okay, line there. Okay, and then he's got some kind of interesting things going on here as well. So in this case, we actually don't need, we don't necessarily need all of these different lines here because, well, I mean, we kind of already know at least some of it. You know, we can follow these other lines here. So I'm just gonna delete these. Sorry, there's two different sort of lines in there. So we can get rid of that. And now I'll just go to like right there. And just kind of drag that out right there. And you can start to see that this is the new line that's like forming. Get rid of that because we don't need that. Right here, and I'll kind of just follow this sort of line that he made there. Oh, don't want dashed. P, hitting P, that's the pen tool. And just sort of cleaning up some of these lines here, right? And as you look, you can start to see that this is the new, I did Command Y or Control Y, and that just shows me like an X-ray just of the lines. Okay, and then it looks like he's got a little bit of a line sort of right here. Tyler, I'm sorry I can't give you this file. You know, wish my teachers would have done my homework. I think we're pretty good. I think there almost looks like there's another maybe line right here too. Sure, why not? But we can keep it simple. I'll have to have that, I guess. We'll do one more here. Looks like it's floating just above the foxing line. Cool. And then there's one final shape here. And obviously, here's the thing. We'll be able to delete these as well after. But they're good reference for now. So here's one thing I'm going to do actually with my shape builder. Just curious if this would be a good time. Yeah, could be. Otherwise, actually, we could just grab this. I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt. And that's another kind of way to offset a line. Because I want to draw this sort of little thing into here. You can kind of see it. Looks like it probably sketches and maybe follows this line here. So what I can do is I can click that and I'll say Object, Path, Offset Path. It's a preview. Let's just see. Yeah, it follows it pretty well. Got lucky. So 3.5. Let's just say 3.5. 5 is fine. Double click on it real quick just to group it because I don't need that lower section of the line. I don't need that. Just need the top one. This one here. I dropped it and hit escape. Okay, so now what I can do is I'll click this and this here, and if you do Shift M, it can highlight this area, but the only way it really works is after you hit Shift M, you have to sort of pick a color. Any color, it doesn't matter, just for a second. And then I'm going to grab it with my white arrow, hit copy, Control Z a bunch. Actually to the point to where this thing here, I can just sort of, just get that other thing off. I kind of go back in time after I copy it. And I delete this thing too. I don't need any of that. And then I hit Command F. And the reason why I do that is basically just so it's cleaner. Like I don't have a bunch of extra lines or anything. Anyways, so Tyler, I might be taking some kind of weird liberties with this. Apologies, whatever. And all I'm doing now is, whoops. Okay. And all we have to do now real quick is kind of shape build just a few sections just to get some of these chunks off. And I'm going to hide this, lock it, we'll hide it. And this thing here actually, let's see this here. Yeah, we could. What I'll do is I'll just kill the stroke on it. I don't feel like looking at it right now. And then, yeah. Actually, I can't. It's all good. So I'm gonna delete some of this stuff here. These foxing lines at this point because we don't need them. Delete the text. I don't need that. And now what we have is basically our lines here. Now Tyler, you may want to put obviously this is a time when we'll put in, maybe some eye stay type things. If you do have holes, you want to keep it, I think probably 6 millimeters away from the edge. So one way you can do that is something like this, L, and just click. And if you do 6 by 6, say OK, that sort of gives you, that's a thick line, that sort of gives you like an idea about how close you can get to the edge. And then I'm just going to click one more. I'll just do like 2 by 2. Okay. And we'll make that black. Real quick. Okay. So just right there. I'll click that and we'll just group those for a second. And what you can do now is sort of whatever. That's a lot of laces. I don't think you need that many. But we can kind of just go along here. And sometimes a really easy way to figure out lace length is you could say, let's say it looks like it's 20. So then you just pick Alt and drag, and you can kind of alt drag this and just sort of line it up. Okay, like I said, this is if you want laces, right? And I think you do. R, click on that, just drag this down, click there, alt drag again, kind of line, just starting to build this thing. R, kind of click there. Remember, guys, this isn't rocket science. Okay, and then that's probably pretty good. And now what you can do is you can just kind of click that and that. If we want, we'll hide it. It's fine. And then these here, don't really need them. Just delete them, whatever. And even that's a little bit close. I would maybe even go. You could probably do 10 to 12. I don't remember what the exact standard is. So just grab a pair of calipers, check a pair of Vans. It's probably even more than 6. It could be 8 to 10. But anyways, so what we're gonna do now is we'll grab all of this real quick. And sometimes I just like to make a copy. Or I'll go back and forth in time. Shift M. And now if you look, each one of these regions can kind of just be like made separately and independently. So I'm just going to pick like a random color that I can see. I'll get the 2 heels. And then I can do... and you almost want to kind of build it sort of, this is kind of weird, but you can almost build it sort of in layers, you know what I mean? So these 2 would be the heel, and then maybe I'll hit copy real quick. Like I said, I have a little bit of a kind of a dirty way of doing a lot of this, where what I'll do is I'll just go back and forth in time and just start pasting things on top of itself. Like I may create this whole piece here, because in actual construction that would be a different thing. And now you say, oh well, you just lost your green ones, right, or whatever. It didn't yet. I mean, what I'll do is I just want to get those eye stays there. Get the eye stay. Oops. Okay, I didn't lose the green ones yet because remember that I copied them a little bit ago. So what I'll do is Command F, and I actually will then take these and I'll even copy that, and then I'll Control Z to before the line work, and so it's kind of a weird way of doing it. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it's really fast for me. And then if you wanted, you could kind of, maybe this is like the very base mesh or something like that, you know what I mean? And then if I hit Control or Command F, it's like, oh, okay, then there's those other pieces. And if I needed to, I could, then copy all of this, Control C, go back here, Shift M. But if you're not careful, it can come back to haunt you too pretty quick. Anyways, so then I also have one more that I want to get. Maybe I want to get just that toe vamp section. I'll do one of these windows as well. So let's pick just purple for a second. Doesn't matter. Hopefully this isn't too confusing. You guys will also figure out sort of your own way to get there with this, okay? So, and then we need to get this too. Copy all this or whatever. Let's see, yeah. Control C, and then actually, yeah, Shift M. Let's do whatever. Let's actually just do. We'll use this other one here as like kind of the base mesh. And now any closed shape, right, if it's at least encompassed on all four sides by something, that will make a shape. And then Command F. Okay. So I'm actually going to take this one here and that brown one and window, whoops, window, Pathfinder. I'm just going to combine them. That's fine. So like I said, Tyler, apologies if this isn't exactly like what you wanted. I'm doing a new version of your shoe or something. But also don't move this stuff around too much right now, because remember, you have to trust it. It's in relation to sort of what you sketched before. Okay. So all we have to do now is take your basically your image here, and we're gonna say that's maybe what you want. Now you're gonna be going back and forth from this a lot, okay? Because for example, let's see this right here. Maybe I need that shape. Maybe I need the shape here real quick. Okay. These are now basically going to be references for us adding on the textures. Okay. So the other thing I want to do is real quick is add some stitches. And now this is to scale. So I've created this, just this shape right here and here. I'm going to say object, path, and then offset path. Okay. And the minimum is 2, right? That's pretty minimum. So we'll just say okay real quick. I'm gonna kill that, and then we'll go over here, and I'm just scrolling. Let's just say 1, and I click dashed line, and that gap in there is a little big or whatever. That's fine right there. Then here and here. Object, path, offset path, and normally I'll just set up a hotkey for those things. I'm gonna say minus 2. Okay. Say okay. Dash that line. It should just remember, which is nice. And now we don't need it necessarily right here on that back edge, so I'm gonna get rid of it on the back edge there. Yikes. Let's get rid of that thing like that. And do this here. Over here. Okay. So we have a couple stitches. That's a little thick. I click like that. And then maybe what I want to do is like I said, Tyler, I'm going to do a little bit of my own thing on this just for kicks and giggles. So, because I'm not entirely sure what yours is. I'll actually make this a stitch real quick. And then I'm going to go object, path, offset path. You can click that preview just to make sure. Say okay, but this time I'll make it solid. Alright, this is good enough for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just copy this, Command C or Control C. Now we're going to go back to Photoshop, okay? And I can hide that. I'm going to paste this. Now it'll ask either pixels or smart object or path. It does. I mean, in some ways it doesn't totally matter. Path. Let's say path this time. So as I hit this, I just want to line that up and make sure, because remember we did rotate it just a little bit, and so we need to sort of get that at least around a little bit. I don't know why it didn't give me an anchor. Did it? I don't think it did. It's annoying. Command T. Here we go. No, still didn't give me an anchor. Why? Why not? Whatever. Okay. Good enough. So, yeah, and it still came in as pixels. I must have said pixels. That's fine. So I'm going to hide that other thing And all we need to look at now is this. So this, obviously, it doesn't have to be perfect either, right? What are we doing this for? So we've now really correctly mapped everything. And I'm going to, let's say I want to have maybe 2 different materials or 3 different materials. I have a picture of canvas here. Now, I would recommend for you, and I'm copying this, okay? Whoops. And we'll go back here. Okay, so we're in our file. I'm going to hit Control V. And now I have this canvas in here, okay? I'm just going to kind of stretch it out. I would highly recommend for you guys, though, to actually take just some high resolution pictures. Command or Control J, because I'll put that up on the top here too for a different section. So maybe what I'm thinking right now is in Control E, I just combine those 2 layers. So maybe these green sections right here are the canvas, and then maybe I'll do a different color canvas for the front. And here, I don't know, maybe it's the opposite color canvas, and then this will be leather. I'm just gonna go kind of fast here, but what we can do is you could turn this down just so you can see it. And here, I'm just gonna use my wand, and right here. In fact, actually, this is even a little bit dirtier, but it's gonna work just fine because we do need this to overlap. Okay. And I know this seems a little bit quick and dirty, but you guys like quick and dirty. Okay, so just kind of erase away, click and shift click, whatever, some of that. Okay, is that on the outside edge? None of this really matters. Okay, or you could even just leave it like this, and you'll see why in a second. Hopefully, you guys aren't. What the heck is going on? Okay, so we have basically this green area here now covered by the. I'll put that right there, because then when we actually go to print this thing out, we just want to make sure that all of the region there is kind of covered. You know what I mean? Right there as well. I'll turn down this opacity a little bit too. Maybe it's easier to see it this way. Maybe not. Okay, so we have this. Now let's make the forefoot real quick. Command J. We just copied that layer. I'm just going to do Control I. Like I said, just simply for time's sake. But what we need to do now is we need to make sure that this forefoot here, if you look, it's actually going to be under these side panels here, kind of the way we've created it. Now, it's best to use your paths or something to split that off. But if you're careful, use your pen tool here and go. Like I said, when you know how to use all of these tools, it doesn't really affect you as much. You can kind of like go back and forth regardless, but hopefully you guys will just see the idea. Okay. And let's go right there. Hold down Control. Oops. Sort of line these up here. That's good. Okay. And I'm using that shape there to cut off some of the white, right? I guess I could drag it. You don't have to, but in case I need it again. So I'll go to the white layer. I'll delete that. And as you can see, what I'm starting to do is, I'm going to hide this for a second here. You can see that basically I'm creating those shapes, okay? And it doesn't, like I said, normally you know, it'd be easier to see if we cut all of this off here, where, you know, let's say we were to kind of erase all of this and everything too, you know what I mean, all along that line. But we don't want to do that, because when we go to print this thing, we don't want our material to run out, you know what I mean? So we're gonna go over. Why is that not going all the way? Ugh, something's jacked on my Illustrator, Photoshop. It's been glitchy lately. I don't know why. Probably just needs an update. Come on, you gotta be. You can't edit. Undo. Why? This thing is so messed up. Ugh, I'm gonna murder my computer right now. Really do. Okay, but no swearing on this video. Alright. So I'm just gonna fill it in with my clone because it's decided to be stupid. Apparently I can't undo. I've only used this program for like 15 years, but today, no dice. Actually, that's not. Oh my gosh, it just goes. Oh, weird. That new update is just Control Z. That's odd. Okay, figured it out. Photoshop, why do you change things so much? Adobe. There must be some super bored like nerds over there at Adobe, and they're just like, hey, maybe we try this, you know? I don't know. It was whatever. Looks bad. There. Okay. Figured it out. All right. So then let's get maybe kind of this window here or whatever. That's cool. Can do the window. And right here, in this case, I'm just going to use my wand. I'm selecting the colors on this. I'll go back here, hit delete, and Control D. And I did grab this perf leather as another picture. It's kind of dumb. Control C, but you know what? It works. Right to here. And you may be thinking, hey, what, you know, could I do it this other way? Yes, you can do this whatever way you want. Whatever way you know how to make Illustrator work, do that way, right? So there's 10 different ways to skin this cat. In the end, we just need the cat skinned. Right here, I'm going to hit, actually, well, for now, let's hit Control V. So we have this perfed leather. And remember, you guys can, it doesn't really matter the color right now. Control U, Command U. You guys can kind of change it to whatever color you want. I'm just going to make it gray in this case. Maybe just a bit lighter. Say OK. And we'll just kind of get that so that it covers that whole window. Control J, E. Move this to right here. Would perf leather be a good thing for that? Probably not, but it's good today. Right. Okay. And we just needed to kind of cover that space under that window. Control E. I'm going to merge both of those layers together real quick. Command E. So just to kind of get it sort of, it's not sticking out anywhere. Shift click. Okay, now we'll drop that down below those other ones. Or at least we'll do it right there. Okay, so as I hide this now, you can start to see how I'm just building these layers up. And the final thing, well, we can't do quite final yet. But let's do these heels here also, maybe out of the leather. So once again, kind of just drag this over, rotate it. There we go, that'll fit. There, hit enter, Command J, drag a new one up. It's getting, oh, that's so stupid. some of these new defaults I really hate from this update that they did. Why, Adobe? Why? Okay, it's fine. Go here. Now just only because I know that that's where it is. And here, you can even kind of do that. In this case, okay. E. Where is this? Oh, okay. Grab the inverse. Oh, on the wrong layer. Gotta get my leather here. The leather should go up on top of that. Okay. So, except why? Oh, it's the wrong leather. What layer? Oh, it's up here. All the way up here. Duh. Okay. Shift Control I, Command I, grab the inverse. I don't care what's on the outside of the shoe, remember, but it's whatever's on the inside is what we kind of need to watch out for and just make sure that that's printing okay. We're getting enough print in there. Okay, that's good there. Whatever. Control D. So let's hide this thing real quick. So we kind of now have these different panels here. Okay. And what we'll do is, I want to drag those down below. We won't do anything on the vamp here. Maybe I'll do one other little thing on the vamp instead. So now, as we have, let's just sort of order this. We have just our visual reference here. And we have, you know, that old pattern there. We don't necessarily need that, but we'll have this thing here. And normally what maybe we'll do at the end is just you copy, basically kind of copy a version of this that's not colored, just the black and white version, and you would paste it on top. And then you could even turn down the opacity really, really low just to see and make sure, but we're not going to do that. So now what we have is these materials that are laid out just as if you would when you go to sew things up. But we just want to make sure now, let's see, I'm going to make those. Yeah, this is truly the ugliest shoe I think I've made in a while. So what we do now is just to pop it just a little bit. So I'm going to double click on right here. I'm going to double click on the layer, and these are the heel pieces. I'm just going to hit bevel and contour. And after you check it, you click on that, and it opens up this sub menu. And as you see, you can kind of like drag it up and down, and it'll sort of pop things. We want inner bevel, and we just want to do just a little bit, just on the edge. It may not even be that noticeable. Now this stuff we're gonna print it, and also do kind of a this little guy here. This sort of like affects where the light is hitting it. Let's just click overhead because that's kind of where the light is gonna be in this case. And we'll just up the size a little bit. I'm having a hard time even seeing it here too much, but that's okay. It's popped. And and if you need to get back into it, you double click. Let's also do kind of a drop shadow as well. And the drop shadow, if you look at the edges of this thing, when I kind of, you can kind of spread that out a little bit, but even that for some reason is not. You can kind of see it here a little more, but we just barely need it. You know, we just barely need it. Say okay. Looks like there's a couple little artifacts up here that we didn't want or need. And once again, you know, another thing, the sharper you guys have this edge, which is part of why you want to use your paths, the better your the better your stuff will kind of. Oh gosh, don't use a hacked keyboard. Okay. All right, something like that. You know, if it's a little muddy, kind of the way I did it, that's why I would recommend probably bringing your paths over. I think I accidentally hit. There we go. Well, and it shows that everything. So we're gonna not do that. Doesn't matter. And then this hopefully right here, this should pop a little more. So we're gonna do the same thing. Click on that, bevel and contour. Click on there a little bit now, and let's up that size a little bit. And now we want up. Yeah, we want inner bevel. And that's obviously a very big size. We don't need it that big, you know. We can change the depth just a little bit, you know, like that, just to kind of start to pop that a little bit. And we could do a drop shadow as well. That's a huge drop shadow, obviously. Just enough to kind of like sort of separate it visually. It was hard to see here on the black one. Maybe here if I just invert the color. There we go. You can kind of see it a little bit more. In fact, that's a little too much now. That's okay. Whatever. And then finally, here on the front edge, maybe let's do one more little like toe cap or something like that, right? Command J. Makes a copy. I'll double click that, do the same thing, and you can kind of see how it has a little bit of a jump, so to speak, you know. It's kind of popping up over the top. Maybe the depth, pop the depth just a little bit more. Okay, done. And now some of you guys are thinking, hey, well, you know, what about stitching, right? Well, we did do this over here, where we got that and this here. I didn't do the toe section, but I'm just gonna copy those two real quick. We'll bring those here. And just to keep it whatever, we'll just do pixels. But like I said, paths are better. And hit enter. Now I can't see them because they're under that layer. There we go. Holding down shift as I hit my arrows because yeah, they took away the arrow. Ugh. What? Why do you do this, Adobe? Why? Don't get it. Just keep things fresh, is that why? Hit enter. Okay, that's good enough. Even those might be a little close, but so now once again, what you can do is double click, same type of thing, click the bevel. But sometimes I like to, in this case, I'll do like a pillow emboss, and then I'll say down, like that. And it's obviously like, you don't need it that big, or whatever. Sometimes you barely see it, but it is there. Now this stuff is going to print on canvas, okay? And we can even change like the stitch color or anything else. Maybe I'll make it just a little bit lighter. That's fine. Command J if it's not popping that much, okay? Command E, okay? Whoops, I like it more like this. Great. Okay, so basically this is kind of what we need, because we'll take this and we'll have this printed, and it's going to print over that, you know, basically over that right there. And then when we go to cut it out along these lines, in the end what you'll see is really more of something like this after it's cut out. And I'll just kind of go down this list or this line here, but we don't want to like necessarily, you know, only print this much, because once we cut, we want to make sure that this stuff is sort of overlapping. So obviously this is not like a great example of it. What you guys will want to do is you'll want to find the materials that you want, and make sure that you make it a kind of a colorway too that you wanna use. In this case, I'd probably go a little closer to something more tonal, obviously in this case, whatever. But remember, we're probably gonna be printing this out on the 3D printers in the black. I just don't know that we'll have a lot of time for the mold making. I don't want to have to involve Icon at this point. They're more than happy to do it, but I'm skeptical that they'll be able to really pull it off for us. So anyways, hopefully this was kind of illustrative of what it is that we want, right? So make sure that you just get your stuff laid down over the top, and you just kind of use this visual thing as a reference. And okay, hopefully that made sense.